Hey Dee, I saw somewhere where Oklahoma had record rainfall in April. And then I saw your Instagram reel. Oh my goodness.
Yeah. It is a whole lot of rain. And it rained again last night.
Ugh.
So, but that old adage,
April
April
showers.
showers bring May flowers. But they also, April torrents bring giant messed up paths. And it rained so hard, Carol, that some of the plants I bought at Bustani Plant Farm, they come in big. I mean, he uses big containers, right?
Right?
No little tiny 4-inch pots for him. It washed some of them out of the ground.
I saw
That's
it. I
how.
saw it on your stories. The lake behind your house was high and
Oh, it used to be super low. That's the one really good thing about this is I'm looking at it right now. It's a big muddy mess, but it'll clear up. Our dock is now back in the water because it had gotten, ever since 2011's drought, it just hadn't come back. Oh, it's back now. It's back in a big way. I think we got 9.67 inches that one night.
holy cow, as they say. But anyway, so I know you want to get back to the garden. You're dressed to go out to the garden.
I'm
So
in
we're going to
my
record this
dick clothes.
podcast early. You get us started.
Okay, welcome to the Garden Angelist, where we talk about flowers, veggies, and all the best dirt. I am Dee Nash from Guthrie, Oklahoma, where I was downsizing my country garden. Now I'm just trying to keep it going.
And I'm Carol Michael from Indianapolis, Indiana. I have a suburban garden measured in square feet. It's about a third of an acre.
And we call ourselves Garden Angelists because we love gardening and we want you to love it too.
Yes, we do. And we aren't afraid to tell all of our gardening secrets, the good, the bad, and even the ugly. But that's enough about this week's. Wait, I mess it up. But let's move on to this week's episode. Hello, Dee.
Hey, Carol. I don't think I've had enough coffee, but that's okay. I've
I
got my
haven't had any
water.
coffee.
Okay, well, there we go. Do you ever drink coffee, though? Do
I
you?
drink tea.
I thought so. So, garden updates, Carol, let's hear about yours.
Okay, so the last week of April, I mowed twice since our last recording, Saturday afternoon and then again on Wednesday. I pulled out some weeds. I planted out the onion seedlings. Those babies were so tiny. I don't know what to say about them, whether they'll make it or not. I also bought some celery at the greenhouse and I planted that out, a nice little row of that. I sowed seeds for cygnet marigolds, those little ones, and then my little favorite zinnia angustifolia. The seeds I collected last fall, I finally sowed those in some little flats that I got at Aldi last year. And I put those inside still. So we'll see how they do. And I've been to the greenhouse once, started buying the plants for the annuals because it's like it does not look like frost. And then, like I said last week, I was a guest on the Garden Master Class with Noel Kingsbury in the UK, and he had two lovely people with him, Richard and Claire. We had a really lovely chat about the Lost Ladies of Garden Writing. And so anyway, that is already on the YouTube, as they say. And so we'll put a link to that. But anyway, it has been a whirlwind of a week.
Yeah, we've
D.
barely talked. I mean,
Yeah, so
barely.
busy.
Like, I think this is the first we've really talked, and I think we texted twice this week, and that was it.
Yeah,
So busy.
so busy.
So, in my garden, before the rain, I had planted all of my plants, but I bought a few more for the border below the deck because I realized it was very empty. And I thought, oh, after those peonies bloom, there ain't nothing happening here. Nothing. So I bought some salvias, some of the ones that aren't, hardy. And there's so many new ones now, new salvias. Remember when I did that salvia post and I tried to find every salvia there was? There are so many new ones.
Oh, there are. There are some
Yeah, so
beautiful
many.
ones.
And I was at Terracotta Garden Outlet yesterday, and I did a little video for them. And while I was there, I noticed they had hummingbird falls in a pot, salvia hummingbird falls, which really looks great in a pot. And if you live in Oklahoma, it was in a hanging basket pot. That would be a great hanging basket to have. So that would
I've
be
never seen
cool.
that, and I'm desperate now to get it. Just like that.
Oh,
Snap.
it's
I
so
need it.
pretty. It's so pretty. It was all kind of purpley blue and it would look great. Let's see what else. It rained all week, and I do mean all week, and we've already talked about that. And I had fun at Terracotta yesterday. Celine was so lovely, and we just had the best time. And I also put on my stories, it won't be, I might put them for something else later because by the time this comes out, stories are done after 24 hours. But I put some just footage, and there was a song playing in the background of the footage, because they play music in the mornings, and it was that song "Take Me Home," and it made me laugh out loud because it's all
Yeah.
the plants.
Oh,
Take
sure.
me home. It was really funny. All right, let's play favorites. What's your favorite?
So it shouldn't be my favorite because these plants can be, I don't think they're invasive into the wild, but they can be spreaders in your garden and take over. And that is my Spanish bluebells and my lily of the valley. They both look great. I walked out onto the patio yesterday. I'm like, that is a delightful scent. And it is my lily of the valley. And I have a variegated lily of the valley and then regular lily of the valley. And then the Spanish bluebells, I mean, they just
I love them.
they're
I'll be
they're
honest.
beautiful. They come in pink and white too, and I have some pink and white ones, but I have this area beside the path that on both paths, both sides are the blue Spanish bluebells. And now I will deadhead those like it's a religion to do so because I
I
don't want them
don't.
to seed all over the garden.
So at my house, they don't seed all over the garden. I'm not saying they want in other people's gardens. I can't speak to your garden and what kind of dirt you have or how much you water or whatever. But here they just nicely spread. And the same thing with the lily of the valley. It took me years to get it going. And now I actually got plants from my friend Karen Collier. And that particular group of plants has been perfect. They just gently spread. And I'm like so happy about it. Now I've got to go down and smell mine because if yours are blooming, I'm sure mine are still blooming because it's been so cold.
Yes,
Normally
and
we might be bloomed out, but we're not.
I will say that there's a pink Spanish bluebell, if that makes sense, in my
Yep,
front garden. And I'm thinking to myself, I did not plant that there. It is lovely, and I did not plant it there, but it's going to stay because, I
why not?
I like that little bit of wildness where things are kind of popping up that are a nice surprise. And
Me too.
I'm smart enough to know like I've mowed over it twice and it's like I have to find that and dig it out. And that is Star of Bethlehem, which is highly invasive.
Oh,
And
it's
so I keep
terrible.
thinking I need to remember. I know exactly kind of where it's at. I need to dig that out. I
I
don't know
need to dig
where
it
it
out
came
too.
from.
I don't know where mine came from too, except that a neighbor had it in their garden,
That's where it came from.
like 4 houses away.
That's where it came from.
And we are on 2.5 acre lots. So that
That's
should
where it
tell
came
you
from.
how bad Star of Bethlehem is. It is the
Yes.
prettiest little flower. So if you get this cute little flower in your yard or garden and it just comes out of nowhere, you've never planted it, has a cute little star face.
Yeah, it's a little white star face. Almost looks
It's a hateful
silvery.
thing. Yeah, it's a
Hateful thing.
silvery, beautiful little plant. And you know
Hateful.
what? Remove it. Remove it immediately because it's
So anyway,
bad.
not to get away from our favorites, but Spanish bluebells and lily of the valley. How's that?
That sounds good. So in my garden, it's actually a native, so that'll balance this aggressive.
Exactly.
And in the
Exactly.
case of Star of Bethlehem, invasive. So mine are the two, and I'm looking at them right now, the two wisterias that I have growing in my garden. And they're both native wisterias, not to be confused with the hateful Asian wisterias, which nurseries here still sell, and they shouldn't because they are so aggressive. One of my clients has one that has gone over her neighbor's fences trying to take over her yard.
That's
And
terrible.
I was like, chop that back as fast as you can. Okay, so my two are Wisteria frutescens amethyst falls and Wisteria macrostachya blue moon. And so I've never had them bloom at the same time before. Usually amethyst falls blooms first and then blue moon does it later. But our weather is such that they're blooming together at the same time. And boy, is it pretty. And
Yeah.
truthfully, can I tell the difference between them?
No.
Not much. Not
No.
really, because okay, Blue Moon might be slightly bluer and it is not as aggressive as Amethyst Falls. So those are things for people to remember.
So my wisteria is not blooming, and I know it is. It is a frutescens. It is native. I don't know if it's amethyst falls,
It might
but
just be the straight native.
I blooms are all messed up this year because I noticed my pearl bush was just
Mhm.
in full bloom for Easter back on April 19th and 20th. But I was looking through some pictures to do a presentation next week, and I saw a picture of that pearl bush last year. It was blooming on May 1st, and I looked out this year and I'm like, it's been done. So blooming
Yeah,
is
it's
kind of
just
messed up.
weird. It is really weird. We were so hot and dry in March that we had some stuff bloom early, and then we got cold, and we've been kind of cold ever since. So there you go. All right, questions of the week. Are
We
you
have two
finished?
questions.
You have two questions. Oh, wow. Okay, do you want me to read the first one and you answer it?
Sure.
Ladies, I love your podcast. We always love those kind of questions, by the way, and always enjoy your chats. The newsletter is a great reference. Yay, glad to hear it. Would it be possible to keep a running list of all the books you mention on the podcast? Oof, I don't know. I understand this may be a big lift since we have a few seasons now. Yeah, 7. Aren't we on 6 or 7? Yeah,
We're on
I
our
don't know.
7th season, D.
7th season, I thought so. I understand this may be a big lift because we're in our 7th season now, but it would be great to reference when your listeners need a good book. Question for you. I have a new garden. What are your favorite design books or resources? I'm trying to do this slowly and keep up with the mature garden in mind. That's from, I'm going to say Shaney, or it might be Cheney, Washington Zone 6. Keep up okay, sorry, misread it. From Cheney, Washington, Zone 6. Keep up the good work on your podcast. It truly brings me joy. Sarah. Sorry, Sarah. What are some of your favorite design books? We didn't write anything down in our notes.
Well, I don't tend to spend a lot of time reading design books. I'm more of a plants person.
Yeah.
So we'll have to think about that. Now, as far as a list, I think
Mm-hmm.
if we get a few rainy afternoons and things kind of settle down, I think that I could comb back through and find some books. I'd probably just list the bookshop.org reference for most of them, unless it was an old book. So I might be able to do that, but that is not a time to do it right now. But it's a
No, not
future
in
project.
spring. But maybe winter we could do it if we remember. Okay, so I thought of a couple of things that I used for design in the beginning. And one I've talked about quite a bit, and it's not a book, it's Kitchen Garden Magazine.
Right?
Kitchen Garden Magazine had more designs in it than most of the magazines at the time. Another one that I really like is from a long time ago, and it's Scott, and it won't quite fit for Sarah because she's from Washington State, and Scott Calhoun is in Tucson, Arizona, but he wrote a really great book that I literally dog-eared with tabs, and it was called, oh, now I'm gonna mess it up. He first wrote A Yard Full of Sun. Let me look up this other one because I want to make sure I get it right.
Well, and
Because
then I'll give you an assignment for the newsletter if you could list a couple of your other favorite design books.
okay, so his other design book was Designer Plant Combinations. So it was
Okay.
both a plant book and it was a design book. Yeah, I'll come up with some. Just
Okay, and we'll
remind
put
me.
those in the newsletter. That's like
Yeah,
an
that would be a good reference. Okay,
yeah.
second question,
It
which
says,
is
"Hi
also
Carol."
for you.
Yeah, "Hi Carol." And this came to our garden angelist email. "Hi Carol. I remember you talking about starting these seeds last year," and she's talking about zinnia and gustifolia. "On your
Mhm.
recommendation, I got the white ones last year and I really liked them. This year I bought seeds from, and I won't name the company, and I got them in orange. I bought 3 packs with 10 seeds in each. That is not very many seeds. And I did not get a
Mm-mm.
single seed to germinate. That is very unusual for me as I am a pretty seasoned seed starter." Say that 3 times real fast. Seasoned seed starter.
Mhm.
"Have you had any problems starting these seeds? Are there any tips or tricks that you can recommend?" And I'm going to say that they germinate as readily as
Easily.
any zinnia seed. So what
Yeah,
I would
they
do,
do.
since she had complete failure, is I would write back to the company, find their
Yep.
customer service address, and email them and tell them, because if they're a good seed company, they might pull a sample and do a germination test on them and figure out if they had a overall problem, and at least might offer money back. So that's what I would do. And that was from Tracy.
Yeah, I think that's good advice. All right, why don't you do the quote?
I will do the quote. "It is quite possible to leave your home for a walk in the early morning air and return a different person, beguiled, enchanted." And that is from Mary Ellen Chase.
especially this time of year because it's
Especially.
changing. I did a blog post on how spring changes minute by minute, and so you
It
better get out
does.
and enjoy
It
it.
does.
So this flower, our flower topic, we're still in our alphabet, and its H is for hollyhocks, helenium, and heuchera, or heuchera. There's another way to pronounce it true, but I say heuchera. Coral bells.
Heuchera.
Yeah. Anyway, all right, hollyhocks. What do you want to say?
Well, we talked about hollyhocks. This is a biennial, so it blooms on its second year of growth. So for people that are looking for instant, you need to go buy a plant that's already been through a year of growth and stick that in your
Mm-hmm.
garden. But once you get them established, they will drop seed and they will resow, and you should end up with a perpetual bloom of hollyhocks in your garden every year.
Yeah, I have in my cut flower bed almost every year. I haven't really checked it this year, but they wouldn't be up yet anyway because it's been too cold. But okay, so another thing you talked about were doubles versus singles.
Yeah,
And
the
I wrote
doubles,
something.
to me, the doubles look like,
Puffballs.
well, like if you take the tissue paper flowers, like they used to make them to make up like floats
Floats.
and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I think when they get wet, they get really soggy looking. In
Yes.
other words, I'm not a fan of the double. I
Apparently
like the
not.
singles. I like the
The
singles.
most famous doubles mix is Chartres, which I'm probably not pronouncing right. It's probably Chartres, but it's spelled Charters, only it's RES. And those doubles have been around forever. Very, very popular. The singles are better for pollinators
They
because
are.
they have a great big bloom with a great big, is it a pistil or a stamen? I think it's a pistil. And then there's lots and lots of pollen in them. And you can always tell the bees have visited because the pollen spills. They also have guides inside of them, which is nice for pollinators. So there's that.
Right?
But a few doubles don't hurt anyone, especially in my climate, because by the time they're blooming, the rain's gone. We don't have any rain until fall again. So there's that. I've grown all kinds of hollyhocks over the years. Apricot's my favorite.
I've got some seedlings out there that I bought last year. And so for my winter sowing, they're one of the seedlings that have done the best so far is those hollyhocks. So I'm going to get those planted out in the garden. The other thing I would say about them is the old timers called them outhouse flowers because they grew them
Right.
around the outhouses. They are in the cotton family, Malvaceae.
Yeah, they are.
They're related to cotton and okra. So if you're wanting to grow like a whole plant family, you could get cotton, okra,
And hollyhock
hollyhocks, rose of Sharon. There's a lot of good things out there. They also are a bit prone to disease. They often get leaf miners on them.
rust.
And they
They
do
get
need to be
rust.
staked in some gardens because when they get really tall
Wind.
like that, it just takes one thunderstorm, one big storm, and whoosh, they're on the ground.
Yeah. Yeah, all those things. Do you remember when I fell in love with the beautiful apricot ones in England? And I came home and I had to grow them, and it took me forever to find the seeds. And I finally did. I found them on Etsy. You can now find the seeds pretty easy. They've gotten popular in the United States. And then I worked so hard to get them out in the garden, started them inside the greenhouse,
Right?
and then
Sure.
the fire happened.
They
It
got burned
burned them
up.
all up. Yeah, they all burned up because I just set them out. So that was in March 2023. I have not grown the apricot ones since because I got kind of, well, I had to clean up. So there you go. People worry about rust. There are some varieties that are less rust prone. We don't have as much problem with rust as long as you grow them in full sun because of good airflow.
Right.
I think we've kind of talked them to death.
One last thing is I think that we'll have to look it up, but I think on Gardener's World once they showed somebody in England who has the national collection of hollyhocks,
Yeah.
just kind of all growing in barrels and pots and stuff. It wasn't a particularly attractive garden, but
Well, it's hard. It's hard to have a national collection and make it look like a garden.
shall we talk about Helenium?
Yes, we're also going to mention a national collection in it too. All
Of
right,
course.
Helenium, aka sneezeweed. I hate that name. So I call it Helenium.
Yeah.
Helenium autumnal, which is beautiful. It doesn't grow, it doesn't flower in the autumn. Here, it flowers in late summer, but the standard one is yellow with a yellow center. Then there's yellow with a brown center. And then the English got a hold of it. And
And
so, wow. Wow, wow, wow.
because it is native in the United States.
Right. It's native in the United States. It's a great flower. It's beautiful. It's named after Helen of Troy. I bought Mannheim Beauty again. Okay, so I should say I have two large clumps of it that start out from two
I
little
have
square
none.
pots. They're huge, and I have to Chelsea chop them in spring, which is about now. And then, in fact, Chelsea should be next week. I think I haven't checked,
Sounds
but
about right.
that's about right. And so I chop them back so that they don't get so long, and that also delays the blooming slightly. And they're big and yellow, and they look good with my spice bush because it turns yellow at the same time. And
Nice.
then I wanted Mannheim Beauty, which is one that was created by the English. And I've tried to grow it twice. And now this is the third time. I bought a little tiny plant from Select Seeds. I need to go check and make sure it didn't get washed right out of its.
I'm gonna guess. Never mind. I
I'll
I
tuck it
may
back
have
in. It'll be fine.
I think I had sneezeweed once, and we should say it's called sneezeweed not because it makes people sneeze, but because they dried the
No.
leaves and used it as a replacement for snuff back in the
Right.
snuffing days.
And I was at Bustani, and he has two varieties, the native one with yellow, and then the one that has the brown center, the brown cone. And these two ladies said, sneezeweed. Oh, I don't want sneezeweed. I heard them, you know. And I turned around and I said, it doesn't make you sneeze. It's Helenium. And she goes, really? And I said, yes. It was snuff. And she
Right.
goes, wow, how interesting. Maybe I will try it. And I said, see, it's all in a name.
It is all in a name. Yeah. You sound like me every time I go down to the greenhouse. I was there yesterday afternoon. You start talking to people about gardening and stuff. And
Yeah. Sometimes it's well received.
yeah, sometimes they're
Yeah.
like, lady, I don't know who you are, but get out
And
of
go
here.
away. Yeah,
Go
go
away.
away. But usually, if I say something like, well, the men all think they, no offense to men, I like men, but the men all think they know everything, and a lot of them don't.
They
And
don't.
so they buy really dumb plants. And sometimes I go, if you buy that, it's going to die. And they always buy it anyway. So I quit talking to them. One more thing about Mannheim Beauty, it's orange. I forgot to mention that. That's
That,
why I
yeah.
want it.
Okay.
Okay.
And I had Helenium at one time, and I think it
Hmm.
either got shaded out or just kind of got out competed or something. So as
It
far
likes
as I
full sun.
know, it's gone. I'll have to go check.
It's full sun. Loves full
Yes.
sun.
That's not my,
Okay.
yeah.
What else about Helenium? Anything?
Nothing. Let's talk about Heuchera.
Yes, Heuchera.
So
Okay,
many,
so you wrote
so
these really
many.
great things about it, and there's only one I can grow well. Only
Southern
one.
Comfort, you wrote.
Southern Comfort for me is the only one that works. And I had to giggle last year because I say that I have a whole video on it on Instagram. And I've tried a bunch of them for you people. I have, and I always kill them. In fact, I have two new ones this year in my pots out front. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. Okay, so you said Autumn Bride.
Autumn Bright has basic green foliage, but it's really has big long spikes of flowers in the fall. Now they're not knock your socks off,
Mm-mm.
flowers, but in that fall look, and they almost have a grass-like look, and they have done really well. They actually self-sow a little bit around my garden, and I get little bits
Good.
of them coming up here and there, and depending on where it decides to reseed itself, I kind of leave it.
Hmm.
And then
That never
then
happens here ever.
yeah, Autumn Bright. Well, Autumn Bright's the only one that does that.
Oh, okay.
And it's probably
I don't know.
closer to the native, which is the Heuchera americana, which is native in Indiana and also throughout the Midwest. So that may be why it likes it here. I've
Hmm.
I've tried lots of the colors. I have a beautiful, call it caramel colored one next to one that's like a chartreuse green, and then I have one that's a dark red. It's growing out in my front bed, and I can take some pictures and put them on the newsletter to show those. But they, you know, the thing is, in March, it just looks like a pile of dead leaves, and I think,
It does.
should I clear that
Hmm.
out? Should I cut that back? And I don't. And then by now, it's just this beautiful, like little bed of beautiful leaves. And I'm like, well, I'm glad I didn't do anything to disturb them. They're very shallow rooted.
You have to tuck them back in winter here because the freeze thaw cycles, they want to commit suicide. So
Yeah.
I heal them back in. And people go, what does that mean? And I'm like, I literally step on them and push them back in because
Yes.
they're so shallow rooted that they just pop themselves out of the ground, the stupid things.
I don't have
I,
as much problem with that here. I mean, these are
well, you
big
don't
beds of
have,
them. They've spread nicely.
Big beds of them. I'm so jealous.
I should just I'll text you a picture of one I took this morning after this podcast recording.
Because you want to show off. You have that smug look right now.
Yeah, I have that Heuchera haughtiness about me.
For sure. Shall we go on?
Dry, shady, Heuchera's your baby. Indiana, not Oklahoma.
I mean, Southern Comfort is fine. It does great. Pull the dead leaves off when the new ones start to emerge. Moving on.
Do a quote. Vegetable time.
Every day, at least for a few minutes, go and be with the plants. Look at them and smile, touch them with love, and talk to them for a while. These little engagements will recuperate your heart and nurture your soul. And you gave me this one. I do not know how to pronounce this person's name. I'm going to go for it. Ready? Buon Thapalaya. I know I butchered that, and I'm sorry. And I don't even know if that person's male or female. But thank you for that quote. It is lovely. Vegetables. H is for, I like this. I'm glad you didn't come up with a bunch of H vegetables.
I couldn't find any H vegetables except for habanero peppers and hatch peppers. And so I decided that H is for heirloom vegetables.
Great. So what heirloom varieties do you like?
So, we should say that most heirloom varieties of vegetables are open pollinated, so they're easy to save the seeds.
There are say all.
Most
of them.
Most of them. I don't want to say all because I want to talk about a hybrid heirloom that's not open pollinated.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. So most are open pollinated, easy to save seed.
And we should mention Seed Savers Exchange out of Iowa. This is the place to go if you want to find the heirlooms. And you remember last year, and I talked about this with Noel, my friend Noel.
Yeah. Keep dropping that
Dorothy
name.
Giles, and she had that list from 1920s of all the vegetables, and I went and found a bunch of those heirloom types. So they are out there. People are saving them, which is wonderful. Some of my favorites.
Can I say another place to do them is Southern Exposure Seed Exchange?
Yes, absolutely.
For people with southern gardens, that's a great place to get them. And they that's all they do is open pollinated stuff. All right, your favorite ones are?
Well, I do try to always grow green arrow peas, and I know these go back a long way. I didn't list them, but cherry bell radishes, those go back forever. I've always talked to, and I don't have one this year, so I have to kind of look to see if I can buy one. The German Johnson tomato, which always reminds me of my grandmother because she was named Johnson, but she married a German. So German Johnson.
Yeah, there you go.
And then the Black Beauty eggplant. I mean, I know there's a ton out there, but the eggplant of my childhood was the Black Beauty. So those are just a few that come to mind. And then the other one I'll talk about when we talk just a minute about hybrids.
Okay. For me, dragon tongue beans, green beans, they're delicious. And a great open pollinated variety that's old. Cherokee purple tomatoes. It doesn't get any better than Cherokee purple, which was handed on to us by a Cherokee farmer. And thank goodness it was introduced to the world. I mean, if it wasn't, and it's a great purple tomato that does well almost everywhere. So easy to grow, easy.
Well, it reminds me of glass gem corn, and I actually bought some seeds for glass gem corn again because it's so beautiful. But that is an heirloom variety that's just been handed down and tended to.
It's a beautiful, beautiful corn. I have a great picture of it. Maybe I'll go find it for the newsletter. All right. And then you said H could also be for hybrids, and don't be afraid of hybrids. Which one did you want to talk about?
Well, big boy tomatoes. And a lot of people grow big boy tomatoes, very trustworthy, I say, in the tomato world. And but it is a hybrid tomato, so you can't really get the seed saving will give you something slightly different the next year. Sure. But I remember when I was a working gal, somebody said, "Oh, you can't grow hybrids in an organic garden." I'm like, "What?
What does that even mean?" Okay, where did that come?
Do you know how long men and women have been crossing plants to come up with hybrids? It has nothing to do with organic. And I think he was confusing hybrid with genetically modified organisms, which is totally different. And that's where they're splicing genes together in all kinds of Frankensteinian ways to come up with some of the crops that we have today. Most home
Mhm.
gardeners rightfully do stay away from GMOs. Not that there's many out there, but there are a
There
few
aren't very
sneaking
many.
in.
There used to be there were none, but now we talked earlier about that crazy blue tomato they had.
The blue
So
tomato and then the glow-in-the-dark petunia.
yes, which has been on it's been everywhere. In fact, it's on I just saw it on something
There's a
else
garden center
again.
south of here that's got them for sale, and we can talk about that in our commissions. But
Those are
anyway,
just dumb. Okay, can I just say a hybrid tomato that I really like?
you most definitely should.
I like Rutgers. I think Rutgers is a great tomato.
That
I
is a
really
good
do.
tomato. Yeah.
Super Steak is a great tomato too, also a hybrid.
Yeah,
Big
my older
Big
sister
Beef is too.
she sent me a neat text yesterday and said, "What's your favorite cherry tomato? What's your favorite big tomato?" And I said, "Black cherry for the cherry." And I said,
Mm.
"Super beefsteak. You can't go wrong with super beefsteak."
My
For a big
gosh,
one.
what a great tomato. It does crack, but who cares? You're going to eat it as soon as you pluck it off the vine, so it doesn't matter. And then Sweet 100 is also a really good hybrid cherry tomato. So is Sun Gold. So is Snow White. I mean, you could go on and on. Really, there's a
Yes.
lot of really good hybrid tomatoes out there.
And the hybrid tomatoes have the advantage of heirloom tomatoes, I will say, because they have crossed them to
And
get better disease resistance,
yes,
more harvest. A lot of times people will plant an heirloom and then be very disappointed by the tiny number of actual tomatoes they get from that plant.
from that giant plant.
Yes, a giant plant, and it's like, where's my tomatoes?
Yeah, so you just have to be prepared to know what you're doing in tomatoes. And I think when we get to tea, maybe we should go down the tomato rabbit hole a little bit because
We will definitely do that. We've got a few
yeah,
letters to go, but tea, you can't talk about tea in the vegetable garden without tomatoes. But for H, it was a bit of a stretch. So we do want to give a shout out to the heirlooms. And I consider something heirloom that if I grow that every single year, that is an heirloom for me. So I always grow Big Bertha green peppers. Grow California Wonders. I tend to have the same tomato varieties that I enjoy, like black cherry. But if a new one comes along and I've grown it a couple of years, to me, that's an heirloom. It's just one.
well, I grow Big Jim. I grow Big Jim peppers, and Big Jim peppers are kind of an heirloom. It's
Yeah.
an heirloom that, and let's just say that about heirlooms too. They're open pollinated. If you save your own seed and you grow it again and again and again, it is very specific to your garden. And one of the things that happened to Big Jim peppers was that they got grown by everybody and switched around, and so then it was like, where is the Big Jim pepper, which we did a big thing on that last year. So, heirlooms can change over time for good, and they can also get muddied. And that happened kind of with Rutgers too, because people saved seeds from it also. Anyway, neither here nor there. Heirlooms are fun. Hybrids are fun. You can grow both and it's okay.
It's perfectly good. And
You're still a good gardener.
so today is May the 2nd, and people are all over Facebook. Can I plant out my tomatoes and peppers yet? I see a couple of nights in the 40s still. So I'm going to say in Indiana. I'm still holding off, although my seedlings, especially my tomatoes, are getting to the point where they're touching the lights, and it's like, you guys are going to have to go outside and toughen up, but you're not going to
Yeah,
go out to
because
the garden.
you don't pinch off tomatoes the way you pinch off flowers.
No.
All right. So why don't you do a quote?
Reading is a conversation. All books talk, but a good book listens as well. And that is Mark Haddon, Haddon, Haddon. True
So
that?
on the bookshelf, we have The Lost Orchid, a story of Victorian plunder and obsession, which is all about orchids.
It is all about orchids. Do you have your
It's
book
very
with you?
good. Yes, I do. I should hold it
You're
up.
supposed to, this is where we hold them up for the camera.
Sorry, I'm holding.
And you can see the difference in the lighting for us.
Yes, quite a
Because,
bit different.
yeah, this is actually purple. This thing is purple.
Yes, which mine is. But the sun's coming in my window, which is why you can see it. So this is a very dense book in terms of
It's very
being
in-depth.
detailed.
Yes.
It's good. I've read quite a bit of it and I like it very much.
So, in summary, the forgotten story of a decades-long international quest for a rare and coveted orchid, chronicling the botanists, plant hunters, and collectors who relentlessly pursued it at great human and environmental cost. And the author chose this orchid, but I suppose there's many examples of where plant hunters of old plundered and pillaged in order to get a plant, and that's just wrong.
Right, but they
happens.
did. I don't think they knew that back then.
Yeah.
I think we're judging him now based on what we know now.
Right.
But they also took advantage of local people who, took them around. But they also died. Some of these
Yeah.
plant hunters flat died, and they died young because they were going off into the Himalayas or wherever. And I almost feel like the people that were wanting the plants, by that, the nurserymen
Rich people, rich collectors.
or just rich collectors, they bear some blame if we're going to put down blame, because at least the plant hunters put their lives on the line or their health,
Yeah. And so the particular orchid is Cattleya labiata. Striking purple and crimson bloom, quickly became one of the most coveted flowers on both continents. And the action in this, we're talking about the early 1800s.
Right. 1818 or so. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So anyway, I have not had a chance to start really reading it yet. To me, this calls for winter reading.
I did start it in winter because we got our first books. Now we have 2 each because they sent us another one, but we got them pretty early. So I started it and I'm halfway through. It's really good. I probably won't finish it until the fall when things calm down, or the middle of summer when it's hot,
Right. Right. So we should mention the book comes out on May the 6th. So when this podcast episode comes out, this book will have just been published. And so it is one to seek out. The Lost Orchid, A Story of Victorian Plunder and Obsession by Sarah Bilston. And it was sent to us. We got review copies from, and we want to give it a shout out to, this is Harvard University Press. And they contacted you, correct, Dee?
Yes, they did. Okay, so I've got an extra book that I'm going to give away. And I thought about it before we did this. And so I want you all to subscribe to our newsletter. It's free. It's on Substack. We always link to it. You get the podcast a day early if you subscribe to it and click the link in it. But I want you to subscribe. I want you to comment. And then I won't know, but just tell a friend about it, because we could get more readers for our Substack newsletter. And as I think it was Sarah above, one of our people above, said, it is a great reference. I mean, it's where we talk about, we show all our links there. We talk about the podcast. You get the episode a day early. So I will send it to you. I will pick someone randomly and send it to you.
And Dee, I also got a second copy because we got what's called an advanced reader copy. So my second copy is also part of the giveaway. So we're going to give away two
books.
Two
Great.
books.
I just didn't want to put you on the spot.
And I will say this is open to U.S. residents 18 and older, because shipping internationally is expensive.
It's really expensive right now. So it's just for the United States. But
yes.
Sorry, guys. Sorry, friends in other places. All right, I'm going to do the quote. Lord Illingworth told me this morning that there was an orchid there as beautiful as the 7 deadly sins. Oscar Wilde. Oscar Wilde is... No, I didn't know you had that one in there. It's perfect too. And I love Oscar Wilde. He was so funny. All right. Dirt. Monarch butterflies on 60 Minutes. So I watched the whole thing. 60-minute stories are 3 stories, 20 minutes long, which I love that format. It's a little longer. It's on YouTube. We're going to link to it. He only got one fact wrong. And so if you listen to it, send us a comment and tell us if you picked out the one thing he got wrong, because he got one thing wrong. Well, but the rest of it was great.
I will have to listen as well, because I don't think that I've watched it yet. In fact, I know I haven't. So now I'm interested to see, what did they get wrong?
Yeah, he got one thing wrong. I was like, oh, wow. Okay, you interviewed all those famous people. And he interviewed, really famous people in the monarch world, which was awesome. I mean, really famous.
That is good.
So that was cool. And I loved that he he went with an indigenous person up into the mountains where they overwinter, which tourism has really helped save the monarch because it's helped save that area of the forest, which is where the eastern band overwinters. And the person was like, we have to be very quiet. And they had to walk up there. They rode mules up the side of the mountain, and then they got off the mules, and then they had to walk quietly and speak very quietly as not to disturb them, which I thought was very good. You know, if you get a big group in there and they're waving their arms around, it makes them use energy, and they don't have much energy left because they're at the end of their long trek and really their lives. All
Yes.
right, so that's a fun piece of dirt. How about the next quote?
It will come sometime. Some beautiful morning she will just wake up and find it is tomorrow. Not today, but tomorrow. And then things will happen. Wonderful things. And that is L.M. Montgomery. And that is no doubt from Anne of Green Gables.
One of the Anns, for sure.
Yeah.
One of the Ann books. Okay, so rabbit holes. I'll do mine first. So mine is really simple. Just out of the blue, I found this guy on YouTube, and it's called Up North Garden with Corey. And Corey is delightful, and he owns a local nursery in Michigan, and he's kind and he's honest. Like, he ordered all these plants and had them shipped to him, and he showed how the packing was done and which ones did a little better, which ones were a little more rooted than others. But the first one I watched was his video on petunias because it just popped up in my feed. You know how it does. My feed is a mess, by the way, because Bill doesn't have a Gmail account, and he can't figure out how to have his own feed on YouTube. So he uses mine. So mine is a mix of old trucks that people find in the weirdest places and try to start again, petunias, SB mowing. I mean, it's old abandoned houses. I mean, it is and let's not forget World War II. Good grief. So I go through, and I'm really glad the petunia one showed up. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. I know the feeling.
I mean, stuff shows up, and I go, where did that come from?
Well,
I really just want gardening videos and mowing videos. I'm always up
here's
for
the
good
thing.
mowing.
So on my YouTube channel, I do enjoy some World War II videos, gardening videos, what they call the booktubers that are talking about books and stuff. You know, I did a deep dive on P.D. James on
I bet yours is a
YouTube.
mess.
And so, you know, now I'm seeing all these British interviews with different authors and things. And yeah, it is a bit of a mess. But here's the thing, Dee. So when I switch over to the Garden Angeles YouTube channel, which has its own feed, I get over there and I'm thinking, where are my booktubers? Where's this? Where's that? And it's because I'm going to curate that feed so that it's all gardening all the time.
Well, thank you, because I could go over there too.
You could go
and just
to the
check
Garden
it out.
Angeles.
It'd be such a relief over
I'll
seeing
make sure.
the latest thing on some German plane that, you know, the Fokker or whatever it was called. I do want to say his video on petunias, I watched it because petunias have a hard time in Oklahoma in the summer. And I'm going to try some of his tips, even though he's up north, like feeding them with a liquid fertilizer every week, in addition to the fertilizer you put in the pot. That's a good one. I cut them back. So he had some really great ideas, and he and I like a lot of the same petunia varieties. He likes the Super Petunia Vista. He likes the Petcoa. So there you go.
Very nice.
What did you find?
So I found when I was looking for another garden writer, and I found these two sisters that wrote books in the 1920s, and then again a couple in the 50s. But there were three sisters, and they all went to the same Pennsylvania Horticulture School for Women, and they never married. It seemed like they were still living together in the 1950 census. So I wrote about them. They're a bit on the dull side compared to Hedwig, who was in the cult.
Well, I mean, I was sitting here thinking, well, that's like you and your best friend. I mean, you just live next door to each other, right? And so, yes, she does have a best friend besides me. So, you know, it's similar. And I don't think you two are boring at all. So I think you're being a little judgy.
I don't think they were boring because they lived together. I think they were boring because there's just not a lot about them out there. I mean, they didn't go off and join a cult. But anyway, But
Oh, wait a minute. Or friends of Wallace Simpson. I don't think it would have been fun to be friends with Wallace Simpson.
no, I think that would have been a bit
He
of
was a
a,
narcissist.
yeah, a bit of an issue. But anyway, so I have two more, and I actually today in the mail I'm getting another book.
Well, imagine that.
This is an old book about herbs because I'm in my herbal phase now, and so
Yeah, me
there's
too.
that garden writer Morgenthau Fox, and
Wow.
then
The names.
I found another one. I cannot remember her name, Mrs. Charles something, but in the 1920s, she wrote the American Book of Dahlias, darling, dahlias.
Yes, one of my garden coaching clients said, I have fallen in love with dahlias.
And
And
you're like, oh,
I said, stop. You're too new. Don't even go there. Just plant some zinnias. And then maybe we'll talk about dahlias another day.
yes. So anyway, her book is available online. So I spent way too much time looking at those, but
Fun.
I
I
don't
bought a
know where the
Kindle.
week has gone, but it has been a busy week. Let's talk
Well,
about our.
you were extremely busy. I bought a Kindle, a new Kindle, a Paperwhite, because my old one was 5 years old. I bought it in 2020.
I just read on my phone, the Kindle on the phone.
Well, I get tired of reading on my phone because it makes my eyes tired. So my daughter was over and she was like, she saw my Kindle and she was like, Mom, just buy yourself a new one. It's like this much bigger on top, so you have a real page. And it's lightweight, so it doesn't make my hands hurt. Do your hands hurt from gardening? Mine do. My joints,
No,
my thumbs. Oh, lucky
no.
you. Okay, garden commissions.
What are you going to do this week, Dee? You
Oh,
going to
I
sit
thought you were
around?
gonna go. Yeah, I'm just gonna sit around and watch my paths look like doo doo. That's what I'm gonna do. No, I'm gonna keep plugging away at the weeds and now the mulch in the paths because the mulch all ran out. I've got to replace the boards along some of my triangular gardens because every time it rains, some of the dirt goes down in the paths. Then I'm going to work on the paths that are damaged. Bill goes, just call Luz. He'll do it for you. And I was like, I'm trying to decide if I need to put brick down in this one part of the path so that when the water flows over, the brick stops it. I don't know.
That's a
I
good
have
idea. If it's
in
not
my
a tripping
one,
hazard.
it's not. In my one brick path that's from the house to the kitchen garden, one brick sunk down into the sand because it rained so hard. So I got to dig that baby out. And did I mention that I got 9.67 inches of rain in one night?
You mentioned it at the beginning of the podcast, but that is quite a bit of rain and worth mentioning again. That's almost monsoon-like, isn't it?
It felt like it. And then we got a bunch more last night. In fact, the water is still running down the hill. I can see it. I'm going to plant green bean seeds if it warms up because it's time. It's time to plant some.
Not
But
here, but there.
but I need the weather to cooperate. What are you going to do? Ooh, your list is long.
So I'm going to start planting out some annuals. I'm mostly like geraniums, petunias, things like that. The vegetable garden is still kind of, I got to wait. I'll probably set up the tomato stakes and everything, but I'm not going to put the tomatoes and peppers out there quite yet. Wanted to get a little bit steadier on the weather, but they're going to start being hardened off tomorrow, which is Saturday, which will be 3 or 4 days ago. Once this episode comes out, I'm going to the Johnson County Garden Fair, which is ginormous. They have like 70, 80 vendors. It's huge.
That'd be
And
fun.
it's always a good time. And then I'll probably stop at another garden center on my way back. I have to go to Wild Geese Bookshop there when I'm in Franklin. And so then Thursday of next week, I am speaking to a group called Senior Promise at the Franciscan Health. And they just have like programs they bring in for seniors. And I'm going to speak about gardening. I did it last fall and they said, oh, please come back. And I'm like, okay, race into spring gardening, I'm calling it.
Fun because of the Indy 500, right?
Exactly. And then I did weed the path, one of my main paths in the garden. I weeded it the other day, but I'm going to do some more weeding. I also have to mow a few more times, probably be at the greenhouse several more times in the next week. And it's fun because as soon as I get there, I like to go in and announce myself that I have arrived. So, oh, she says, well, I will do an uptick on sales for the day. Anyway.
You will. She will because everybody listens to you.
Well,
So
I'm gonna have lunch with an older sister. No, that's the following week. But so eventually I'll be out on the west side shopping. But anyway, the big and
you're
then
in shopping mode now. That's where I was for a month.
right.
And boy, my credit card shows it too.
Yeah, well,
Yikes.
cash is king. I just go get cash. And then you don't see a credit card bill later.
Yeah, but you're not married, so you know.
Anyway, nobody's asking, why are you taking money out of the bank again, Carol? Speaking of
Or
taking money out of the
why
bank.
is your credit card bill so high? I've been sending him videos all morning off of Instagram, which are all those ones of the wife telling their husband about the bills, for plant shopping. I'm
Yeah,
trying to soften him up. We'll
there
see.
you go. So the big news for the week is Tuesday or Wednesday, I am getting a brand new roof on my house.
You go, girl.
Speaking of spending money, I hope the plants all survive. I'm sure that they will. And once they're done, I am going to be shutting down the bird feeders for the summer. Last year, I kind of kept them going. Such a mess over there. So I'm going to shut those down and try to get a lot of that crap cleaned out and just plant some annuals there for the summer. Maybe put a hanging basket or two on the bird feeder poles. Who knows? So that's going to be
Yeah.
my week.
There's going to be a big plant sale here too, and I was trying to look it up. The garden festival in the park at Will Rogers Park is Saturday, May 18th, and it's from 9 to 3:30. There will be food trucks, so if I go, I will be going at 9 because
Yes.
food
The earlier the
trucks.
better.
Yeah, and then there's another one that's down. I mean, we've got it's like this. Bam, bam, bam. Oh, and Terracotta Nursery. It's really a garden outlet, is what they call it. They are having their big Mother's Day thing this Saturday, and they're going to have margaritas. So there you go.
That's going to be pretty fancy. Yeah, it is go time in the garden. So it
It
is
is
go
go
time for
time.
us. We must go to get into our own gardens. Thank you for listening to the Garden Angelist. Hit that subscribe button so you don't miss a single episode. We publish every week on Wednesdays at 12 a.m. Eastern Time.
But if you subscribe to our Substack newsletter, which is free, you get a link to listen to the podcast a day early. And by the way, don't forget, we're going to give away 2 books and links to products we discuss. Some are affiliate links. Plus, go over to YouTube and see us in person. Full episodes show up on Tuesdays.
And if you want to help support us, use our affiliate links. If you buy something after clicking through on them, we earn a small commission and it costs you nothing.
Or if you want, we'd really appreciate it if you would set up a monthly subscription through Buzzsprout or make a one-time donation through PayPal. It helps us pay for podcast hosting.
Thank you to everyone who has done so.
It was lovely to chat with all of you over the garden gate. Bye until next week.
Bye, everybody.